you realize that you spend a lot of time, and actually you often waste that time holding on to things you don't need. We came in very simply, and right away we got feedback from people like, hey, this doesn't really work. You're missing all these things, but that was actually the best part. We took that feedback and it helped us figure out what was actually possible and what wasn't.
I believe that over these 3 years, your own mindset has probably changed quite a lot, and maybe your strategies have changed too. Maybe you could give an example of how this change has happened over that time.
Well, I think the number one thing is that everyone thinks they know. I think I know too, but it's always hard because you still have to get to market as quickly as possible. That's often really painful because you want everything
To be ready.
like perfectly ready, and then you end up spending a lot of time and actually wasting that time, often maintaining things that aren't even necessary. When we launched our first product in the UK, we went to market in a really, really simple way. And right away, we got feedback from people like, hey, this doesn't work. You're missing all these things. But that was actually the best kind of feedback. We took it as a way to figure out what was possible and what wasn't. If we had tried to build the perfect product, we might have ended up sitting somewhere for 10 years and
Trying to figure out ourselves.
because then you end up with a product that's very feature rich, but ultimately the wrong one, which
Besides the shift in mindset and maybe bringing products to market faster, is there anything else you can point out that has increased or changed?
for me, if we were to discuss my personal life, then for me, it is very clearly and distinctly categorized into several important areas. You have your professional work life, your cherished family life, and then, of course, your own individual personal life. That is precisely how it truly is for me. People tend to forget. Relationships get mixed up when your private life, your family life, and your own life aren't in order. It seems like things get harder at work too. It's like for a long time you just keep going, but then you forget that this is
Whole.
you have a child at home. So in the long run, that's really not sustainable either. And for me, one thing is that we've grown a lot as a company. And now I'm a relatively young father. So setting all those priorities straight is actually pretty important because in the end, we're doing this for the long term here.
What would you say are maybe the three main principles that help you achieve success in business, but also, on the other hand, keep you from burning out yourself? Well,
I think it all comes down to whether you're creating value for the customer or not. Burnout often happens when you're doing a lot of things that push you out of your comfort zone too much, whether it's entrepreneurship or just not knowing how to handle very complex issues and so on. To make sense of all this work, I think it ultimately comes back to whether you're truly providing value to the customer. Not just, if the customer is satisfied, but that's the point where you can look back and see that you did a good job and that brings you satisfaction. If the customer is satisfied, your growth becomes easier because they benefit and you have to grow. If they're also willing to pay for the service, then you've done some things right in terms of value assessment. You have to keep an eye on this aspect in all different countries as well. Different clients, different languages, currencies. Why are these people there? If you can create that value, you can also find balance within yourself, knowing you're doing the right thing, and you can forget about everything else. Figuratively speaking, you can focus on that and find happiness in it. Yes, the second aspect is that I am very selective about who I work with and how we collaborate. I am genuinely drawn to individuals who truly and sincerely want to do these important things. I honestly think it would be utterly impossible to successfully build a company like ours otherwise. So if you just apathetically show up for 8 hours a day and do something without real engagement, you need to have that drive for self-development, to learn and grow and to move forward. Because the moment you stop doing that, you actually fall behind, and that creates a difficult situation. But if you find people around you who are genuinely interested in pushing things forward, then even when you have tough moments, they will try to help you move ahead as well.
so ideally, the business mission and your personal mission should be in sync. That's good.
Of course, for everyone in that sense. If you find that as a person you don't want to work here, then I won't hold you back. If you want to do something else, I support that. We've reached a point where we have a few people who have done really good work, and then they decide to move on, for example, to build their own company. And actually, quite a few people from our company have invested in their companies as well. So the next thing is supported. So no.
There's no point standing where someone wants an entrepreneur.
Exactly, that's it. Your point is that you have to want to do what you do. It has to be in sync as a family business, but not everyone is the same, of course. You're not 100% on board and we often do things we don't want to do. But if your main interest is in place, then it can move forward. If it's not, then things can get very complicated very quickly.
How much do you look at it, so to speak, that these people would have their strengths? Do you look at gender, personality traits, and then try, like you said, the work should be enjoyable all the time as much as possible?
We do look at it quite a lot. Well, one thing is qualifications. We look at those very, very closely. I try to look at qualifications from a global perspective, but the other side is also that you have to want to do this job. Our work is very fast-paced in EE. It's a very lean organization and constantly changing, and that's not suitable for everyone. We've seen people like, for example, one person who was very good at their job in their field came here, looked at it for a month and said, okay, this isn't for me. So it's like that. So it's on a completely different wavelength, like D&E are today very successful in their positions at the bank. And
what would be your recommendations on how to attract good talent to your team then?
Offer a really good product that creates value for people. I think that's the foundation. On top of that, you can build. Good people want to spend their time on something that creates value. They often want to understand that it's like a bigger thing, a mission, whether it's interesting to them, whether it's a problem they've encountered in their own world. We've also had to explain a lot why we're doing this, where we're doing it, who the client is, and if we succeed, what will happen then, what comes out of it.
So if it's meaningful, people want to be part of something bigger than themselves.
If you're creating great value, then that often helps too. Or if you're creating value for a very specific group, like if you can truly define really well and clearly why you are doing something, then it actually helps you to sell it much, much better to others as well.